no title in particular for this stream. I'm just kind of going at it. I just found out this morning, actually, that somebody made a JTube website. It's a website that looks like Jeffrey Epstein's YouTube channel, like you were looking at his YouTube channel from his access point. And I scrolled through it very briefly because I just had to take a peek while I was fucking in the middle of getting ready for getting my morning together. And I said, okay, all right. Next time I dig into the files, that will be on standby in the backdrop. And I gotta learn how to navigate it. I gotta see how the CP is covered up. Well, all of that. I have to see how all of that is covered up. My imagination is that the intent was to release everything as safe for public consumption version as reasonable, just because of what's not necessary unless you are part of the legal thing going on for the victims and such, right? And we're dealing with the wildest of scenarios because part of the evil which makes this work the way that it does are the people willing to be silent, right? People that were paid on the level of this contingency, and possibly also some people that had to have their contingency appraised because they never thought things would go to a certain point. And because it's so goddamn many, because it if people can't see the scope, like, they're acting like a couple hundred girls over the course of like 20 to 30 years, which is not a lot if you're just a fucking playboy who women just trust and just fall on your lap just because you feel safe to them. Or some other situation, is literally like 1% of 1% of the horror show going on, both in scientific endeavors, which have a sick fucking crossover, and all of this shit. Like, this is why this motherfucker has to be Thoth the Insect, because if you know about Thoth's connection to the Anunnaki and how the Anunnaki corrupted Kemet, then you'll understand this, right? This is a forced breeding program. I mean, like, do people understand? Like, could you get any larger of an allegory of the American corporations have been almost legally raping you for your entire fucking life. Right? Including and especially in 2020 and 2021. And all I can say is that if you actually think it's going to collapse the whole system, I mean, it may. I mean, we're not having a civil reform discussion yet. I don't think we have the personal constitution to stomach writing a new constitution. I don't think that we're ready to have a constitutional convention. We may not have enough time for a constitutional convention. There may be no time to do this in a manner that is civil and orderly and clean of undue influence. Because our system is designed to fall back on the Articles of Confederacy, which would be ironic and it would make you understand why the choice of government for the seceding nations was a fucking confederacy, because they were the ones following the law. But by the time the Republican Party came around, the prevailing attitudes was, we don't want to reform the Constitution. So, if the Constitution is valid, it still needs to be changed. If the Constitution is invalid and we've been working under a specific corporate charter since the Civil War and the Act of 1879, then we need to collapse that organization as it has been designed to lock us out, and you can't have a government institution that locks people out of it and creates a superior class of your fellow member of your nation. And the entrenched bureaucracy in which the deep state cultivates is that. These unfireable people. So, we'll see. We'll see how people feel about that. But until people even realize what I am telling you is your answer, you're going to fucking want to look for a different answer. And you're not going to like the different answer, because the different answer is be an anarchist. And just work off of your voluntary preferences of who you wish to know, transact with, and contract with. I think that's all extraordinarily simple. Maybe we all have a responsibility that once a day, if you've gone out today, and I recommend you go out, don't be a goddamn fucking incel. Once a day, ask somebody, hey man, just, man, what the hell are we gonna do about these files? Right? Just be like, dude, what are we gonna do about this? What are you gonna do about it? I've been thinking about what I'm gonna do about it. And just ask that question. I think that people don't understand how things are getting rearranged at the top because shit on the bottom is getting knocked the fuck off, right? Various pillars of their pyramid are being ripped apart and informed on the pillars that they are trying to rebuild over here in tech dystopia. This is the biggest permission slip to choose the positive timeline you've ever been given, and all you have to do is reject the horror in the Epstein files and make your personal choices as such. Because everything's about to change, and perhaps, like, here's the thing about Trump: it is irrelevant whether he did it or not. To me, I'm looking at it from an obvious point of view. He may have fucking done it. He may have fucking done it as par for the course, and not because he's an actual fucking pedophile, but because he made the dark choice of wanting to run for president. And all of the evils that they force you to do to vet you to run for president. But somehow, the way he fucking got himself blackmailed, he did it in such a way that he ends up still holding all the leverage. And he's bloodline, right? So, House of Orange has not been in control in America for a long time, if ever. House of Orange is part of the Incunabulum, which is the 13 bloodlines. People have an idea of their level of elitism, whether it be via the religious aspect of it or the occult aspect of it. And there's a profane occult aspect, you know? You have to understand the complexity of aliens, 2 orders of angels, 2 orders of demons, because one is confused for an angel because they are effectively the elves, and the other is confused for demons because they are effectively the dwarves. And ever since the incursion, we've had these false entities from the Antiverse who have given you the access point through Kabbalah, which keeps the wound open, which is why you do not use Kabbalah in magical practice. No one should use Kabbalah, and the only people that can shouldn't. And maybe they have a magical pre-Kabbalistic tradition that was in alignment, but they don't want to use it. They don't want to find it. They don't want to believe it exists because they can't have the Semitic people, the Sumerian people, discovering who they were before the Skywalkers came. Before the superiors descended and would take lordship over them. Jeffrey Epstein is a low-level thug of their kind. Low-level thug. And the low-level thug gets to have fun with some of the real shit. But he wasn't working, and it's not even Ghislaine. The emails are revealing that he had a whole fucking cabal associated for what he was doing, not for his personal pleasure, which was with Ghislaine, but what their operation that also involved their personal pleasures and blackmail operation was also fucking feeding the cloning program. Are you fucking picking up what I'm putting down over here? Right? We are the dragons, we see clearly. Our clairvoyance dispels evil. That's if you're a good dragon. Right now, we are facing some very, very wicked ones. It's a draconic warfare. I have I've scared myself a little bit with doing this kind of thing publicly, as it goes from being crazy talk to real and scary, and seeing the difference between you and yourself at a fixed point that you've brought about. And in part looking for that shift to happen is also hoping that you're in a world where you're fighting on, where you've fought off the evil, and nobody is a fool about you, and it's a good place to be, right? Because I'm not in the right kind of place, and there's a lot of little things that make me upset with myself, right? It's like there's more fucked up going on in the world than just what our education system has been. But but learning and understanding the Robert Maxwell McGraw-Hill connection, right? People don't have a right to criticize the way you think anymore. Understanding the nefarious nature behind all of it. And I was sharing aspects of this with different people. I think I even shared it with Stein or something, just talking about how I'm set back. And it really fucking upsets me because I should have been different, but the only thing I could do was avoid the trap, avoid the poison. That's all I could do, was avoid. I mean, I could just see it clearly. I wasn't afraid of fucking anything. There's a million things I just wanted to fucking do, and that's all I want to do. That no, I don't be trapped in that situation, because I perceived being entrapped in situations like the COVID situation. Being an Uber driver was the only thing that was going to come even close to keeping me fucking free, and I bought as much time as I could with it. But but I really thought my dedication to what I was doing with music was going to open up all the opportunities I needed and fix all the problems. And then people look at you like your head's not on straight. And I'm just like, I don't need to make $1 million in music. Why do you think I'm trying to I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to fucking just live better than my dad. That's all I want to do, is live better than my dad, and I'll feel like I fucking, succeeded. As far as I can tell, I'm living worse than anybody else in my fucking family, period, full stop. The fuck am I supposed to do with that? I sacrificed perhaps my life to do this for fucking nothing. And to present myself as the wreck of a human being, and it was all like, and it was all like me trying to put on the fucking performance that got the truth out. That I worked really fucking hard to explain myself or explain what I am showing. To contextualize, to edit, like whatever, right? And everything I was doing was guided on a false assumption about who and what people are that was then shown to me. through the pandemic. And it changed my whole angle of standards of who are people of quality and character. And it was more complicated than just that. As we've now grown in different kinds of subdivisions. And I wonder, though, because I feel like I haven't really seen any more of these kinds of subdivision. I think you guys know what I mean by these subdivisions. There have been these, quote, when all these different groups got smaller, me separating from the spiders, like there's bad blood and good blood subdivisions, right? I'm talking about the bad blood subdivisions, right? Owen Benjamin and what's his face, made by Jim Bob, or me and the team on Over Sharon, like all these different bad blood based subdivisions, as people would rather be decharacterizing on certain things because of where they go on a fundamental level. And so I just got ahead of that and I said, that attitude, that way of talking to me comes from fundamentalist fucking gatekeeping, and if you're gonna pull that card on me, I can't fucking roll with you, and I don't trust you anymore, right? There's a lot of people that are never gonna let go of Christianity, and they're gonna forever be lost in the confusion because of the grift that the Jewish Meshiach was the swellest guy you've ever met, as alleged in the book. Right? Just like the way people talk about fucking Charlie Kirk. Like nothing he ever said was grossly ignorant. And all people really fucking worship Jesus for is because they like the character in the book. And it's just like, you know Jesus in the book, the Bible? He's my favorite character. Oh, fuck that guy. Oh, and then they get fucking hurt like I've insulted their best friend. Because, that just like, you throw that book in front of somebody, you make sure they start with the fairy tale of the gospel and never mind the horror show that happens in fucking Leviticus or something, right? And then it ultimately becomes, if you don't love the character in the Gospels of Jesus, the guy with all those red letters in there, who suffered so horribly as a historical fact, then you're a fucking monster. I can't be around you. You might allow sin in my presence. And then your whole identity starts fucking shifting around that because you're letting the egregore of Jesus dictate you. Plain and fucking simple. Oh my God. And then that is how you become the perfect subject of mind control. Because you could be convincingly pulled in any direction based on any arbitrary quote of the Bible connected to another relevant quote in another scroll, and because you buy the baseline premise, it forces you to comply because you're now convinced that your understanding of it, their understanding of it, is God's meaning for us to understand and obey. And Thoth constructed the Bible this way to keep you in those cognitive loops. It's all pretty fucking simple. The main reason why the New Agers fail and why religion is rising is because the element of ritual had been missing from spiritual practice. You had evocations, and well, you actually had invocations with very little respect to evocations, but the point is that you would have your mantras, your utterings for tuning and petitioning creation and God. You had your meditation, which is the listening, the energetic receiving aspect. You might even have some energy work that you were doing, but you weren't putting it into organized ritual practice because you've been conditioned to believe that you can't touch any of these spells because they are associated with spells that do have blood sacrifice. Now, unless you're vegan, not all blood sacrifice is evil as per our necessity. And once we've achieved biospiritual regenesis, may not be in our lifetimes, but future generations will be able to produce life on a more breatharian level. But until we're really at that level, and there's a lot of physiological changes you got to go through. You can't just be a regimented fucking Windhofer and like expect your kids to be breatharians because of all the breathing genes that you fucking coded in this lifetime. Okay? So everybody needs different levels of animal protein, animal fat. Some of us are fortunate enough where dairy might be enough, or dairy and eggs might be enough. And there's a fairly fucking easy argument for eggs. Okay? Fairly easy. And, but we feel so much remorse about the concept of byproducting. And it's just like, dude, like, you know, in the wild, that chicken's gonna lose its eggs to weasels and shit all the time. Their entire fucking bloodlines get fucking wiped out by a coyote. Alright? Our relationship to the animals that we keep is actually probably more life-affirming on that level. Right? Especially for an animal that may understand that, like, all sorts of things can see it as food. You know, I mean, I got a pet iguana. Iguanas are not meat-eating animals like cats and dogs. A big reason why you don't eat cats and dogs is because they eat meat. They're carnivores or, you know, or omnivores. We get our big health problems if we've eaten from something that eats meat. Mixed in with cannibalism is the fact that not only we're eating ourselves, but people eat meat, and you probably didn't eat a vegan because you wanted somebody who's got some fat and got some, you know, and has some serious muscle mass from a healthy diet. That's if you're eating adults, which I believe some of them do get eaten. Sorry. I've probably said all that I really need to say on the subject. Right? You know, just, you need to put your... You need to be able to put out your position, like me, out there in the world. You know, you look at your position, and everybody's in different sorts of places. Some people have a level of waking up within, you know, they're in a county clerk office. You know, they're in a police department. Some people, you know, wake up one way or the other. And, it creates more leverage, more leeway, more room for transformational development. For getting these pre-existing issues out of the goddamn way. Including changing the atmosphere of how people's relations are, right? The nature of the kinds of things women want to do in the public social environment is going to change for a long time, because women are reevaluating their perception of men and what is a man and what is a man of quality and what has been the quality of the men that they used to exonerate, whether it be the new man that they were trying to force upon us in the trans movement and everything else, which is all in the Epstein files. Epstein was a social engineer of that movement. As well as well as these narratives of what a toxic masculine is, learning what the difference is between a toxic man or not. And it's gonna be wild straightening out this fucking Trump story, right? Because for everybody, this is going to be a certain kind of lesson. Like, why, if Trump is innocent, how the fuck do you expect us to believe he's innocent with all of these connections, right? If Trump is guilty, how the fuck do you expect us to believe he's guilty with all of these connections? Right? Because, I mean, shoot, maybe Trump was never did anything wrong before he was an FBI informant. Or maybe the FBI has got the blackmail on him and he would rather cooperate as an informant. And then incidentally, while they are never going to reveal that they were blackmailing him, he can now go and do all sorts of things. And when he becomes president, he gets to look at the files and he gets to blackmail whoever he wants. And as long as you don't realize that that's what he is doing, you can just live in whatever narrative illusion. You see how that works. So, we're moving into a, quote, new age. And it's going to be good and it's going to be bad. It's going to be both. Because there's people that still don't want to get it. And we're going to have to see which way we take it. Am I getting off here? I think so. I think I'm getting off here. Yeah. So it's a question of, I mean, like, how do you does he fire his own children? Because there's also a big difference between whether the Epstein files changes America's course, or does it merely change who sits on the throne of America's course. Because if America's still going to go in this fucking direction, then we've only done half of what is necessary. It is as necessary to take down these people as it is to stop their plans. I want to take, Peter Thiel. I want to take all these people out that I don't like what they've been fucking saying and doing. Out. I mean, there's a lot of things, but it's hard to fucking make the argument. And you've got the terrifying double down of MAGA and Trump's perfection. which is also falling in line with a fundamentalist program, right? He becomes, it makes Trump into this fixed point for Christian male power fantasy. Which comes from various confusions about what is true about what level by which a Christian has the warrior ethos. And to fill in those gaps, they made sure Christianity wasn't strictly all about strictly all about Judaism, when they're hiding like Mithraism and other things in it because of the military cults, and they wanted to make sure that the high ideals, moral values of the military cults had their excused inroad in Christian morality so they could keep doing what they were doing. And that kind of religious warrior dedication is like where you get like the mythological backdrop for things like Frank Herbert's Sardaukar Warriors of the Emperor. Ultra religious fucking Imperial Guard. How's it going, guys? I see you peaceful. Most ways, something like that. Yeah. So it's good to see you. I can't follow with any of the conversation today, right? Like these drive streams, I can't follow. I can't follow along. I have to drive. I'm on the highway, and I stare long enough, I'm going to drift over a lane and cause all sorts of trouble. So anybody can email me or PM me if there's anything pertinent they got to say, or leave it in the comments section after this stream. Do that for me if you got to repeat yourself. But I can't fucking guarantee a response. All right, I think that's good. I think I'm just going to enjoy something on a podcast or whatever for the rest of my ride up. You guys have a great rest of your day. I don't think I'm going to go live tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Catch you later.